You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. My name is Dr. Patience Abiedu, and I'm your host for today's program. We have two exciting topics today. The first one is on breast cancer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we want to share with you information on this very important topic or subject. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to our ASA who defend our territory, protect our people day in, day out. I want to send a shout out to our brothers and sisters who are residing in neighboring La République du Cameroon, and our brothers and sisters who are refugees in neighboring African countries and all over the world, as a matter of fact. I want to say we appreciate you, and we are working hard to one day unite in our land, Boya. I want to seize this opportunity to invite our guest, one and only Dr. Winnie Lobati, who is not a stranger to the program. Ma Winnie, I see you're in hot pink. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman.
Thank you. I hope my sound is good. Can you hear me?
It is. I
Good.
can.
Thank you. Fellow viewers of The Horizon, thank you again for welcoming us into your home. And I want to just take this time to welcome everyone, lady, male, gentlemen, kids. Thank you for listening to us as women, not just women, but women with a vision and a passion to see Amazonia free, and not just free, but thriving in its statehood and sovereignty. Thank you again, my patience, for having me.
Yes, thank you. So before you join, I was saying that we have two exciting topics today. The first one is breast cancer. Knowing because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we do this every year where we remind our people the importance of breast cancer awareness. And the second topic is the truth shall set you free. Don't be oppressed by lies, be liberated by facts. So we'll start with the first topic on breast cancer. I just have some few questions for you, and we'll just keep it as quickly as possible so we can be able to cover all the topics in a timely manner. So let me go to my question list. I wrote some things so that I don't forget important things, because this topic is really broad. You can forget important things. First thing, why is October called Pink October? What's the significance? What's the importance?
Thank you, my patience. I think you already alluded to this Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That is really what October is. The pink is really a nickname for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's really tied to giving people hope, giving people, those who already are fighting the disease, to give them hope and to show solidarity with them, and to also help with funding of breast cancer research. So the pink, people usually have their little pendant of the pink, but guess what? We came today hot pink. We
Yes.
were wearing the pink in solidarity and to let the people know that we are aware that it's International Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In America, we call it National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, and you also have a lot of people wearing pink ribbons all over the place this month.
Yes.
So my next question to you is, what is the prevalence of breast cancer? Because we hear about, it's as if every family is touched with someone who's had breast cancer, or they know somebody who's had breast cancer. What is the prevalence of breast cancer?
Let me first of all put a myth to rest here. Why breast cancer predominantly affect women? Some men are also affected by breast cancer. So you know that it's not only a woman's disease, but we do have men who are affected by breast cancer. But the prevalence or the number of occurrences in men is less than that in women. So let's take, for example, in America, we have 1 in 8 women in their lifetime will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So averagely, they say 1 in every 2 minutes somebody has breast cancer or is diagnosed or where is already developing breast cancer. But worldwide, there are 2.3 million people with breast cancer. So it's really a high incidence there, and it's one of those diseases that if it is picked up early, then there
Mhm.
will be with early diagnosis, treatment starts early, and so life expectancy goes up. But with late diagnosis, the chances of survival 5 year, they'll count it in a year and then 5 year and so forth. That really goes down. So the I would say the risk factor as such, we will get to that. But about 44,000 people die from breast cancer in the US, and about for men 2,800 are diagnosed with breast cancer every year, and about 510 of those men die annually.
Yes, so based on that numbers, I think then we just realize why it's important to really keep a month for people to learn about this every year. And so moving straight along, what are the signs and symptoms of breast cancer? What should women be looking out for?
I don't know if I want to just start with signs and symptoms. Let's first of all look at what are risk factors. I don't
Okay.
know if that was one of you. Let's look. What are the risk factors
Yeah.
of being
What
of
are risk
having breast
factors?
cancer? Yeah. One,
Yes.
just being a woman and getting older. It's a risk factor for you. Of course, like we said, some men do have it. And then if you have a family history where you have many women in your family with breast cancer, I mean genetical family link, then your incidence or your risk increases. So as scientists have done, they say your history of pregnancy, your the use of birth control hormone, pills, patch,
Mhm.
IUD that are hormonal, or if you have
Mhm.
a dense breast, or even lack of exercise, if you're smoking, drinking alcohol, all those are things that increase your risk factor of having breast cancer. Then another key one is if you've been ever been diagnosed with a benign tumor in the breast, then your likelihood of maybe getting breast cancer goes up. So if you have dense breasts, you may have that increased risk. Then we also have some other factors that we really have no control over. We have those that we can have control. If you want to reduce your drinking, your smoking, then that helps. But there are some other environmental factors, whether it's pesticides or the air pollution or the plastics we are exposed to. Some of those we really have no control. We can minimize it based on what we can do, but we cannot completely eliminate it. So while we talk about women who are predominantly the large group that have breast cancer, I want to take this to say if you are a man or your family, you have men in your family who tend to have very, I'm not talking about men who just, some men do exercise to build muscle mass, and but you start seeing people that are men and they start looking like they're having breasts like a woman, that could be a risk factor that you may want to get yourself also um, checked. So, back to your question, signs and symptoms. There are many signs and symptoms. I'm going to talk about two things here before I really go into it. There is something called mastitis. which is an inflammation of the breast. And it can also mask as or look like the symptoms can also look like an inflammatory breast cancer. So while we're talking about this, I'll talk and then make some differences so that people don't get so scary and worried about it. Okay, back to breast cancer symptoms. You can lump and thickening in the breast. For those, we will talk about how do you check yourself, and if you check yourself and you find lumps, and those or the lumps that are there start getting thickened or hardened, then it's a red flag. If your breast size or color changes, or one of them, if your both are changing, you may just be maybe you're gaining weight. But if one size, and which will really be highlighted in how we do our self breast exam, will make you to be able to catch these signs and symptoms for yourself quickly. So if the shape of one is changing, the other one doesn't look like it's changing. If one nipple is pointing up, while both of them were about the same level, and the other one is down, it's a sign that may need to see a healthcare provider. If the nipple of the breast, instead of the nipple being out, it starts going inward or inverted, as we call it, then you want to uh, pay attention and get examined. But along with that, with the nipple, you could have, if you squeeze that nipple, there's clear liquid coming, bloody liquid, or milky liquid, and you're not breastfeeding or haven't breastfed a child for years or several months, then it can become an issue. And then if the the color of the skin around your breast, if it starts changing, then you may want to get examined. Another sign that people may overlook is you have pain in the breast or in the armpit area, or you have swelling in the breast or in the armpit area, or you start feeling just fatigue, you're losing weight, you're not doing anything to lose weight, but you start losing weight. You're having a decrease in appetite. You may have nausea, you may have bone pain, headache, confusion. Okay, some of these things, headache, confusion, you may have it with malaria, but this is
Exactly.
all adding it with the other symptoms we are talking. And when the disease is advanced in many people, they start finding out that they're having swelling in their face or in their neck, or they have difficulty swallowing, coughing, or even they have shortness of breath. I mentioned mastitis. Usually, mastitis is an inflammation of the breast, and usually highly common with breastfeeding mothers. And why? It's because the ducts where the breast milk comes out of is clogged. And when it's clogged like that, it causes that breast to be inflamed. Some of the quick signs you can know is that this happened within a very short period of time, hours to days. Breast cancer for itself, its own symptoms will be for longer period of time. So you might have what we call inflammatory breast um, tissue or inflammatory breast cancer. What happens? How do you know if it's similar to breast cancer? You may still have the pain, the tenderness, redness, swelling, discharge from the nipple. Okay, your discharge in the nipple could be yellow. Remember, we talk about clear and we talk about bloody. And your discharge from the nipple could be yellow, green, or bloody. Breast cancer, we were talking about clear, bloody, or milky. You may also have just the redness, skin color changes around the breast with that swelling. And usually it will be engorged and very painful. And it's in a short period of time. And you may now have fevers that you probably would not have with breast cancer. And you start having flu like symptoms. And what do they advise a woman who is, when you start noticing this? keep breastfeeding the child. And if the child is not breastfeeding, express that milk out and don't let it engorge, because when that breast gets engorged, it causes that. So where I was just wanting to bring this, because sometimes some woman could be breastfeeding and you hear this program and you have mastitis and you start thinking, ooh, maybe I have breast cancer,
Cancer.
while it is not that. So don't mistaken that, if especially if you're a breastfeeding mother. But now that we've talked about the symptoms, what can we do? You are
Mawini,
supposed to be
before you continue, I wanted to add this that I found very interesting. I listened to a podcast once about breast cancer, and this lady was sharing her story. This lady had no problems whatsoever. She was very healthy, um, goes in for a physical every year, does what is expected of anybody who wants to live a healthy life. But she had this one problem that kept on bothering her. She just had some itching on her breast. So
Mhm.
this particular spot was constantly itching, and she was scratch and scratch and scratch. And one day she decided to go to the doctor to have it examined. Lo and behold, it was discovered that she had cancer. So just a mere change that is something that is so innocent, like itching a part of the body, could be a sign of breast cancer. I just wanted to share that. I'll
Thank you.
let you continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason I was just asking that question is to just let us know that with mastitis, when it's really at its worst, you can develop a breast abscess, which is an infection. But with breast cancer, yes, you have the lump, they have the lump that may be growing firmer and it's growing, and you are feeling all the same, almost similar symptoms. But if you may not be able to diagnose it, the first thing we say is, okay, get to a doctor, get to consult and see a healthcare provider. Those are the first and quick things that they will do. We'll come down to other things later. What should we be doing to help increase picking up the diagnosis early, as well as managing other things, so that we can not be the ones that are diagnosed very late. Like my patients just mentioned this itchy spot that was on the breast. That's a change, a discoloration or an itch of probably one of the breasts and not what was there before. And then she decided to act on it. And thank God she did.
All right. Thank you so much. So to recap, you've mentioned lump, thinking of the breast, a lump, a change in the size, shape, and feel of the breast, dimpling, puckering or redness of the skin, nipple discharge, nipple pain, tenderness, pain in the breast and the armpit, swelling in the armpit, lump on the collar bone area and the neck, skin changes such as a rash or scaling or itching, unexplained weight loss and fatigue. You've mentioned all those, Mawini. So my next question to you is what do you think women should do uh, regularly to make sure that, well, before I ask that question, there's a question I want to ask. Let's look at a short video on breast examination. There's a short video that hopefully is ready to be placed on breast examination. Then I have my follow-up question on that. Okay, so that was a short video on breast self-examination. I know whenever we have a physical, we also have the doctor does her own breast examination. If you go there once a year, or every other year. Do you have anything to add about breast examination, and then also what other tests should be done for examining the breast?
Okay, let's start with this self breast exam, which is what we were watching and seeing. Self breast means you need to know yourself, you need to know your breasts. And so, how do you know it? If you don't know it, you know it by knowing how to check it and know what is normal for you. So when changes start happening, you can you can pick it up. The self breast exam takes into consideration. Remember, you don't only look at the fatty and the ducts and the mammary gland at the front. You really start from underneath the armpits. And when you start checking, you go in a circular motion using your fingers. I would say if you can use your three middle fingers or two middle fingers, the three middle fingers are probably better. You feel in a circular motion as you go round, starting from underneath the armpit, and you take it all around into the chest wall where they meet, and do for each breast. And then when you're done, make sure you check the nipple, squeeze the nipple. And then you also want to lift up your hands in front of a mirror, both hands. Look at how the breasts look like, the nipples, how they stand in front of the mirror when you lift your hands up. How the nipples are, are they all looking the same direction? You may have a slight variation, which is normal for some people, but if you have known that it is that way, then when there are significant changes or even slight changes, you'll be able to pick it. You do one and then you move to the next. For some people, they like to do it in the shower so they can raise their hand up behind their head and then they go around, starting there and go around. So if you prefer to lie down to do that, you can do that. If you prefer to do that while you're in the shower, you do that as well. But mark you, if you're doing it in the shower, it will be preferable that you do the nipple test of squeezing before you get in the shower, because when it's wet, you may not be able to tell whether, okay, was that the water from the shower or it was just me. So you want to do that, the nipple, before you get into the shower and do the other part of the breast. For so many people, they just pick a day of the month if to help them be regular. You can decide that the first Sunday of the month I will do that, or the second Sunday. Or for some people, just they choose and say, okay, the day right after my period, for women who are still seeing their menstrual cycle, they may decide, okay, the day before you may not know when your menstrual cycle, if you are granted, many people do now at this, with all the lessons and hormonal education that we have, we know how our cycles work. But for some people, you may just decide, okay, on the first of every month, or on the third of every month, or the fifth, or the 12th, or the 13th, or the 19th, or the 20th of every month, I will do it, irrespective of whether I'm under my period or not on my period. Or you wait and say, okay, right after my period is done, then I'll check it. So you get to know your breast, become a friend to that breast to know it well, so that when there is something going wrong, you can pick. And once you start going under the armpit, you also have lymph nodes in there. Sometimes the lymph nodes will even tell you, because they too start reacting, and you may not have been able to feel them well with the hand of a medical examiner, but then you start feeling something. You say, oh, this wasn't there before. So those are ways to help us. So keeping some consistent time that reminds you every month to do it is more important than not doing it. So that is the one thing. Then next, while we may do a lot of this, many times some women may not be able to still pick it up. So as we get to the age of 40, they start recommending that annually have an annual mammogram. This is an examination where you go into it's radiology. It's done radiologically, which means they pass x-rays through the breast, and it literally goes, it's like it takes a race and cut the tissue of the breast inside, taking pictures so they can see, and they can see how the whole breast is, and look layer by layer what is happening. And there's even extra what for us in America, we have the regular mammogram, and then sometimes they start asking you if you want extra pictures for, and to pay for that. But if I am right, some laws have also recently been passed that mandated that some of those tests be done and at no extra charge. And if you have thick, dense breasts, they'll recommend that you do some of the extra imaging with mammogram. For women with thick breasts, a dense breast, which is a risk factor, you want to be able to, you may find it difficult. So you want to make sure that annually you are examining your breast. Note, if you've ever been diagnosed with a benign tumor in the breast, your frequency of check, even if you may be less than 40 years old, may come to you start being checked annually. If you have a family history where your mom, grandma, your sister, or your aunts, I'm talking about people with whom you share genetic material as females, if they start having that breast cancer or have been diagnosed, then you want to discuss this with your healthcare provider so that they can monitor you more closely, because some breast cancer are hereditary, and it's about maybe I think 5 to 15% of it can be
Yes.
hereditary. So we want to make sure that for people who have the high risk, that they can be picked up early and not missed.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, some people have that gene, the Brava gene, that makes
The
them high
brother.
risk for breast cancer. So we're going to move on along just to end on a high note because we have so much to discuss with the other topics. Um, let's just give people advice on what they can do, what you can do, what you have control over in terms of preventing uh, breast cancer, because it's a prevention is a cure. So I know you already mentioned this in the beginning, but I just want to list the things that it's recommended that women should just pay attention, and it applies to other illnesses also. I guess when you do this, it helps you, it protects you for other things. You already mentioned it, Mawini: maintaining a healthy weight, staying physically active, limit
Mhm.
alcohol intake, breastfeeding if possible, eating a healthy diet, avoid smoking, and limit radiation exposure. So those things you already mentioned. Anything you want to add to this that we may have forgotten? Well, of course,
I
regular
think
physical checkup.
the self breast exam and the annual breast exam mammogram, it's one thing,
Yes,
some things that you can really do. Um, as much as you can, some environmental factors you cannot control. But just knowing that
exactly.
for women, if you can breast, it's healthy.
And one more thing, Mawini, we've noticed that the prevalence is now shifting years. We're getting a lot of younger people
Younger.
getting breast cancer. In the past, you used to think that it was an illness for older women when you're 50 or older. But we realize
Mhm.
that young women as young as 20s, 30s, 40s are getting breast cancer. So this is really a topic that everybody has to take seriously.
I think what is happening, there are two things that are happening. One is the early diagnosis and awareness is making
Hmm.
people now to start getting checked sooner, and then it gets picked up early. Then probably the other thing is, we remember we talked about some environmental factors and other things that the younger generation probably grew up and were exposed more uh,
Yeah.
sooner. Their parents were exposed, and they were exposed, and then they may have. You talk about the gene, the Hertz bracket gene, that ends up being a hereditary part. But what about people who just have chromosomal or genetic mutation as a result of environmental factors? So we're having more of this, and also the early diagnosis. So it's helping us to pick breast cancer much earlier than in the past.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to shift gear now to the other topic. The other topic that has to do with truth. So, the truth shall set you free. Don't be oppressed by lies, be liberated by facts. So, if we can have that change on our screen, that will be appreciated. But we want to start this topic. Let me say this. Yesterday, and I was invited to this talk, and that was the inspiration for this topic. And I knew that I was going to join it yesterday, and I didn't know what I was going to learn, but I'd already decided based on the invitation that this will be the subject for today. So there was a UCLA Barbara Streisand Center annual lecture that they have this lecture every year. I joined on Zoom, and the speaker was one guy called Timothy Snyder. The topic was the truth about freedom, how lies oppress and how facts liberate. So the truth about freedom, how lies oppress and how facts liberate. So let's talk about this because it's so important, especially with what is going on in our part of the world, Southern Cameroons, Amazonia, and La République du Cameroon. And I think the best place to really start this topic is to watch a video. It was a video that came out years ago by Bishop Fontem Iswa of Bamenda. He was a bishop, then he was replaced by Kia. So if we can see that video from the bishop, and then we can pick up our conversation from there.
Okay.
I've tried to analyze the various options and the various opinions, And if you're asking my personal opinion to keep Cameroon one must be divisible. Because it's a cliche that Cameroon is one and indivisible, because it's not true. Culturally, we are divisible. Language-wise, we are divisible. The law-wise, we have inherited that. So anybody who says Cameroon is one and indivisible is a fallacy. And so we would have to handle that issue very squarely and objectively. And that's what I call the truth. The truth must prevail. There is no doubt that there are people of both sides, that cherish their heritage. And the only way of keeping Cameroon together is to respect the respective heritages that we do have.
His Grace Cornelius Fontem Iswa, as Archbishop Emeritus of the Bamenda Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church, thanks for accepting to be with us in this edition of the program.
Thank you very much.
Mawini, up to you. I'd like you to talk about this video, because remember, we're talking about the truth shall set you free. We should not be oppressed by lies, we should be liberated by facts. And we're talking in context of what is happening right now with the elections and everything, and people getting excited that there may be a change of the guard and all the like. Go ahead, express yourself.
I'm happy that we could watch this, and that was really during the early onset of let me say the 2016 momentum for the push for the sovereign state of Amazonia or Southern Cameroons, after the teachers, the lawyers, and the trade union people had actually already demonstrated. And when they were what they were demonstrating then was not for a change or moving out of a union that was not even existing. Mm-hmm. It was just so that the laws and the things and the condition for them to maintain their heritage, the Anglo-Saxon heritage, would be left alone and encouraged and not destroyed. But it's interesting that this was Bishop Eswa at the time talking about truth shall set you free. He literally lifted that from the Bible. And you shall
Right.
know the truth. And that truth that you know shall set you free.
Mhm.
So we have come to know the truth. And as a result, we of Southern Cameroon understood our heritage, understood when we got independence, understood that we are a separate state that was supposed to federate and never federated because the federation was sham, fake, and the person, contrary to people calling our union as Njumba married, let me put it this way, it was not ever even Njumba married. Because when he went to the United Nations, uh, Molanjo Litumbe used to call it Njumba married. It wasn't. The
Mhm.
La République said they didn't want us independent. What were they trying to say? Say, we don't want them independent because we want to keep them. We want to re-enslave them. And that's literally what they did. But when they came to speak to the big house, they lied. And when they lied, they were saying, oh, we will have federation. If they are not happy, Haijo promised that they can leave whenever they want. So what happened
Yeah.
today that we want to leave and you can't let us go?
Exactly.
All those lies. Why? Why? So La République just recently had an election, which I don't think La République has ever had a true election.
Mhm.
1972, when they faked the referendum for so-called reunification, it was we and yes, fake. So that wasn't a true thing for people to really choose. People were never educated. People were never informed what it entailed, what it was going to be, and what they were in. In 1985, when they had a Congress on Bamenda, and in 1984, when they had changed and said we moved from Federal Republic of Cameroon to United Republic of Cameroon, then to Republic of Cameroon, the name we had at independence registered in the United Nations. So, hey, UN, United Nations, red flag, signpost, La République du Cameroon is the same La République du Cameroon that got its independence on January 1st, 1960. Where is Southern Cameroon in all this? Where have you dropped us? Have you left
Mhm.
us on the road to be battered, beaten, thrown, cast out? And we are literally like a woman or a man, whoever that may be, that is being abused in an abusive relationship. They're not even
Mhm.
married. They're in
Yeah.
an abusive relationship. And the father of the girl is just looking at him. Oh no, it's not bad enough. It's not bad enough. I'm just monitoring it. Until your daughter will die, then you will sit there and say it's
Mhm.
not bad enough. Until Southern Cameroon is decimated before you will come to their aid. United Nations, I'm sorry, this was not supposed to be going this direction, but now I am looking at it from this perspective. All the lies that La République de Cameroon proposed in front of United Nations and has not kept it. And of course, we have no treaty with them, no marriage certificate, as they say. And because we have no marriage certificate, can today, 2025, 21st century, because we've stood our grounds, La République, even when we tried, we thought because we were ignorant, didn't know our history because it was suppressed. When you suppress that lie, the truth, when you suppress the truth, when the truth comes out, it doesn't hide.
Mhm.
And once it
Mhm.
comes out, people start knowing, then they start shaking their heads and say, oh, this is my identity and not what I was told and given and not what I have been. There is a fairy tale that called Rapunzel, or Snow White, all those fairy tales
Mhm.
where some witch is holding a beauty or somebody in captivity and gives them. And our parents, when they read the story of Shokoloko Bangoshe, he. So
Mhm.
the woman, the child that wanted to go, we read those as stories because we were hearing them from our parents. Say, oh, can you give us your reader? Let us read what you guys read. So when this child or this person finally understood who they are, their identity, they gather the momentum and say, I have rights, I have my identity, and what you've been telling me all this time is lie, and I am out of here. And that's where Southern Cameroon stands today. And unfortunately, it's not going easy because most of our people have been massacred, have been
Yeah.
killed, villages razed down. Okay, with that said, La République had its election October 12th. That election, people called me, were jubilating, something new is happening in La République. I shook my head and I laughed. And I said, let me tell you, you're going to have a winner. The one you're jubilating about. I'm not calling names now because I'm not their electoral board to give their results. But let me tell you, what happened to Frundi in 92, what happened to Camto 7 years back is going to repeat itself. It's going to repeat itself. And I told them this analysis. Frundi did not, Frundi stayed and was protected by the population. Frundi did not want to push any further. They had pushed the envelope to the level he could, and that was where his strength could take him. He said he did not want the bloodshed in the land. Guess what? 2017, from 92, 2002, 2012, 25 years later, bloodshed happened in that land. Without Fundi even having taken the office that he claimed he won, or not claimed, that we knew he won. Camto won. What happened to Camto? Arrested, thrown in jail. And no matter what they did, they had all the semblance of election. When it came this time around, they refused Camto. That no, he's not gonna run. Little did La République knew that, one of the person who is an insider and knows all your trick, Mr. Issa Choroma, your propagandist machine that was firing things against Southern Cameroon, was gonna take you guys by the bullhorn, and he did. And when he did, then guess what? He's not going. He's there. You will have to contend with that. And of
Yeah.
course, social media is lighting up with all what is happening there. But last week I did advise people. I said, with what and the modus operandi of La République du Cameroun, we expect this to go this direction, where you have upheaval, delay tactics. They don't want to read the result. They say, we'll read it on this. They're trying to negotiate. They try to buy off Frundi. They try to buy off Camto. And of course, France is still meddling in it. And they try now to buy off, as we hear on social media, that they are trying to negotiate with Issa, Choroma, Bakari. But guess what? People are on the street. But there's a difference. Why people may be on the streets, people may be standing their grounds. The guns are not, the people are not being gunned down like the people were gunned down in Southern Cameroon on September 22nd and October 1st, 2017. We don't see that. Okay, what does that mean? The people there are cockroaches, ducks, and whatever they are. They are not part of United Republic of Cameroon. We don't care if we butcher them, but these are our people. If we butcher them, the risk might be so bad. Plus, we already have our hands stained with the blood of Southern Cameroons. If we add this other one now, we don't know how it will end. But we would say La République has its own Mbaya dance that they are dancing now, and it is not pretty. And it's not going to be pretty. For us Southern Cameroonians, if there's ever an opportunity for us to take and be quiet and leave them to their nation, let's be quiet. They were quiet when we were being slaughtered, and it was to them, that's not my problem. It's not my business. I will not care about what is going on. So it's their business. Um, and so we bore the brunt. Because we bore the brunt, our people were killed, and our people are all in those prisons. I'm sure it will even be difficult for them to arrest a lot of their citizens because they don't have room to add them in the jails, and or sometimes they really don't care. Even if you have to, the those that they arrest have to be on the courtyard to sleep there. They don't care because the prison conditions too in La Republique are inhumane.
Thank you so much, Mawini. So since we're still on this issue of the truth shall set you free, don't be oppressed by lies, be liberated by facts. I learned something that I want to just make that phrase so we all remember that phrase. Even Mawini, I'll ask you to repeat the phrase. I learned that it says the truth about freedom is that freedom requires the truth. Just digest that sentence. The truth about freedom is that freedom requires the truth. So right now, Southern Cameroonians, Amazonians, we are fighting to get our freedom. But that freedom requires the truth. It means that all of us, every single one of us, need to know that truth, believe in that truth, live that truth, and then we'll get freedom. I want to just mention this briefly since we were talking about what is happening in La République du Cameroon and the elections. I want to remind our people, because these are all facts about this cooperation agreement between France and La République du Cameroon. You know, there was one phrase that was added right after, September 30th, 1961, they brought their military personnel and took over our land. We know that. But there's something very important. They had their cooperation agreement before in 1959. That Article 6 had just 5 things. It had the first one that France shall determine the political, economic, and socio-cultural orientations of Cameroon. It had that the second one had to do with France shall manufacture money for Cameroon. The third one had to do with France shall guide and determine the determination of Cameroon's educational program at all levels, which we know that they started trying to do that and they wanted to take over our GCE board and all the like. The fourth was that the French public treasury shall have a portfolio covered named operations account to cover 100% of Cameroon's foreign exchange, although that number decreased over the time. And then it says, 5, France shall be given priority in the exploitation of Cameroon's strategic raw materials. In the event where France is not interested, Cameroon may seek other partners. But this is what is interesting. So this was drawn in 1959, December. On the 10th of November, 1961, that's like 1 month after, a month and a few days after our so-called federation, and they literally took over, where Ahijo was then the president and our Foncha was the vice. They had this added: military assistance. Each time that the Cameroonian president is overwhelmed by an external aggression or internal rebellion, he may call on French military assistance. In the event where the Cameroonian president is unable to seek this assistance by any form of communication, the French ambassador to Cameroon can make the request instead of Cameroonian authorities. I'd like us to hone on this. It says, the truth shall set you free. My brothers and sisters, this is the truth right here in documents where France was already in charge. And right now, we see what is happening. Mawini talked about their elections. We've seen images of the French embassy ambassador taking charge. So that country is still under French's colonialism. They are still a colony of France. Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, we have no part in that sham, what you call independent nation. We are not part of them. And we need to realize that. Mawini, I need you to just talk briefly about what I just said, because your spin will be different and people need to understand where we are coming from.
Every time one reads aspects of that treaty of cooperation de colonial or continuation with Frank Afrique by France, what to me was a neo-colonialism agreement. He said, by the way, before we let you go get this thing that you're going to the United Nations to call independence, this is what we want to do. We want to control your land. We want to control your resources. We want to control your economy. We want to control your education. We want to control everything about you, and even your presidency, that you think you have you think you have a political freedom. No, we control it. And if you just feel as a president, we have allowed you to be there, that you have any problem, you can just call us. Our French troops will be just right at the corner to quell everything. And if you don't even want to call it, guess what? Our ambassador is right next door, and they will do it. Literally, this was a neo-colonialism, and it is even worse than the colonialism that they had prior. Why do I say so? Because now the previous colonialism happened because the search of raw material with the Industrial Revolution, as it was going on in Europe, people now, they went to the Black continent, the African continent, as they were also looking for new routes, because the Suez Canal to get over to Asia was difficult, and they had pirates there. So they decided we'll go round, because they had figured out the world was round. So they said we'll go round and get to find new routes. And of course, they did. And in finding that, they found out that they had more raw materials on the continent. They were used to Northern Africa, Egypt, Morocco, those places. But the Sahara down there was a little bit tedious to cross. But then as they came around, and they have found this dense, rich tropical forests and with minerals. So it became apparent that they would get raw material. And so they sat in Berlin and partitioned the land without even the Africans being there, so that the European countries that were so used to having wars amongst themselves, the partition now for Africa became a place where they all agreed. And of course, mind you, that also played a role. World War I, World War II, Africa played a big role because of all their colonialism and the fetch for raw materials and stuff. So, why are we saying this? If you don't know that, colonialism is another bigger power. France was a protectorate, La République du Cameroon, part of Central African Republic, Chad, Gabon, and I think Equatorial Guinea, that were part of the German Cameroon, that were taken as war indemnities from Germany after World War I, were now chopped off and divided amongst those who were the winners. So the winners now took off and punished Germany. Well, when you punish Germany as hard as they punished Germany, guess what? World War II was just brewing at the corner, because they remember we had our raw materials. You took it away, and therefore we couldn't survive. And now we have all these problems. Guess what? We're going back to war. But here is the thing. France haven't been given the rights by the League of Nations, and the British had Northern and Southern Cameroon in their agreement, and they said we were not going to leave and let people be enslaved, put it in quotes, because colonialism was in fact slavery, but a slavery of a different type. While the slavery that we experience in North America and in the Caribbean and partly in the UK was of a different type. This was where you were forced out of where you really were naturally, brought to somewhere else, and forced to live under conditions that were not yours, and you have no say, no voice, nothing. But with us, the slavery was still there under colonialism, but it came in a almost looking like a friendly manner. Mind you, when they were writing these treaties and at the eve of independence of these nations that hadn't, they really did not rule. Most of them were uneducated. They were just happy. It came to them like, oh, we will help you in this. Just let us do all this. We will help you. Let us help you by you allowing us to do this. Let us take all your resources. We will print you your money so you will be able to compete in the world market. We will back your currency. All was lies. They needed the resources of this country, and they saw that they could not survive as a nation and be competitive with their other European counterparts. So they came up with all this Accord de Coopération, whatever, for France and its former colonies. Why are you still backing the CFA when there's no more French France? We have the EU. It's only the Swiss that have some France in their currency because they are not part of the EU. So once you understand, once you start educating even the citizens of La République, once they get the understanding of this and what was taken and stolen from them, there's one or two things they can, because most often treaties are binding. We were never part of that treaty. We never signed that treaty. So the way they wanted to get us in was to say, let us move away from federation into unitary state, and then they move back to what they were so that the France could now send its tentacles and say, this is all part of the territory. And so this treaty that we had with these people is also binding because they have been assimilated and are under these people that we have the treaty with. So those people cannot refuse. So it's all trickery. Just playing around and thinking that we will not come to this age and time where people will be educated and people will read. And thank God somehow for social media, not just only social media, World Wide Web, that we can do research now. We can do things, even though granted not everything is accessible, but some of these things are plain view. We can see them, we can read them, we can talk about them, and we can see the injustice about it and the trickery that happened.
Yes. Thank you, Mawini. I'm going to change a little bit to another video. We're still talking about the truth shall set you free. And I'm going to say something that I'm saying as a host, not you saying it, but let's watch this video. In September of 2018 or 2017, September 22nd, 2017, there was a video. That's the day that all over the world, Southern Cameroonians came out to declare that they don't want to be occupied by La République du Cameroon. All over, we saw all those videos, pictures, and all the like. That same day in New York, the former president of, then the interim president of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia, then called Seseko Ayub Tabe, had this to say. If we can hear that video, and there's a reason why we're bringing this video now, please. We're looking for the video of Seseko Ayub.
Strong measures that were taken to reinforce the security of the population. But my sisters, my daughters, my mothers, I want us to take our destiny in our hands. We have played a lot. We have covered the killers a lot. When I asked you before the speeches, who are the killers? You say you don't know. Thank God. The Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly remind you certain facts, and after her intervention, you cannot say that you don't know the killers. So repeat after me. Who are the killers? You don't know? Yes. Even after what Honorable Ifaka said, you don't know who are the killers? The killers are your brothers. The killers are your children. The killers are people who are living.
Responsibility, which we don't take lightly. Any of your leaders, including your chairman, who tries to go against this struggle, because this struggle is bigger than any one of us. Any of your leaders who tries to go against this struggle, will throw the person under the bus. So, responsibility, which we don't take lightly. Any of your leaders, including your chairman, who tries to go against this struggle, because this struggle is bigger than any one of us. Any of your leaders who tries to go against this struggle, will throw the person under the bus. So,
thank you so much. Well, we've seen two videos. We'll talk about both of them. The one that I was really alluding to when I call on when we had to talk about this section of the program is the one that then chairman. He was not yet the acting president. He was still the chairman at that time of the
governing council.
Governing council.
Governing council.
Yes, he was a chairman, and that's what he was saying. So why do I bring this up? And I'm going to say some things here that I'm going to just throw things out there, and then you will say what you think is happening. The reason I'm bringing this out here is that I know, Mawini, you've already said on this program that very likely, based on history, regardless of the fact that Issa Chiruma is supposedly leading the winner of the election, they will go by their old playbook where Bia will be the winner. But let's just say that what if there's a tiny chance that it happens that Issa Chiruma is recognized as the new president of La République du Cameroon? We've heard that people like Ayuk Tabe will be released, and the president also made it in his speech that with all the other Amazonian prisoners of conscience that are locked up, that they will be released. But let me focus on him, Seseko Ayuk Tabe. Let's call him Ayuk Tabe. And there are some fears that after he's released, he may work with Issa Chiruma to try to bring peace in the land and ask for a referendum where people will vote and say, okay, we want to be part of La République du Cameroon, or we want to really be Southern Cameroon's Amazonians. Or he may get a big position in the government and just stay mute to the problem. Or he may just disappear and nobody hears about him. So there are all these different possibilities. I want to ask you here that for someone, and I believe this, that if President Sako had not come out, meaning that if after Seseko Ayuk Tabe and everybody was arrested and the governing council and the interim government was not able to, though it had already become an interim government after that, if they were not able to get somebody to continue, so if there was no President Sako, if the thing had just died down with their arrest, where we didn't mobilize ourselves, I really believe that if that had been the case, nobody would have heard about them anymore. They would have just disappeared. I really think that they would have disappeared. But because this government, led by President Sako, continued the work and did even better things, including raising enough money for their defense. Remember that Barrister So was still in La Republique du Cameroon at that time and has already shared with us that there was plenty, large sums of money raised by this government to take care of our prisoners of conscience. So I would be extremely disappointed if Sesoko comes out or Ayuk Tabi comes out and doesn't come back to this government and said, yes, you took care of me. We will go by whatever you are planning for our country. And instead of continuing to say that he is a president, because remember, he appointed his vice president, Yeremia. So that confusion right there exists, where he is supposed to be the president and Yeremia the vice. So I expect of him that if this happens, that he is released, that he says, okay, I want to thank President Sako and the government for taking care of me. And because of what they've done, I've been kept safe for this number of years. And make sure that everything that happens now happens under the leadership of President Sako. I'm just being my own self frank here, but I know that you're going to say something different. Go ahead, Mawini.
Thank you for the video anyway. I think that is a video that history will always record, that he, in his foreknowledge, knew that there were the temptations that were likely that people could betray the sovereignty and statehood along the line, based on historical facts of how other struggles have emerged and people have betrayed their governments or their people. So making that statement and making it categorically, and even saying even if he did it, he will be thrown under the bus. That is good. But if we go back by the fact that he and the Naira 10 and thousands of Southern Cameroonians are in jail, it is illegal. It is violation of their human rights and their freedoms. The La République du Cameroon must and should release them.
Yeah.
No matter what happens on the, let me put it, on the spectrum of how Southern Cameroonians want to prosecute their struggle to the ultimate end. It does not matter. La République cannot keep playing the game. We don't know who to talk to. They are divided, or even the international community saying we are divided. There are so many voices. We have one voice, and the one voice is that we need to go to Boya. We don't want to be with La République du Cameroon. We want our statehood and our sovereignty restored as was supposed to be, and we don't want to remain with, and we don't want to sign any treaty union with La République du Cameroon. We want to be independent and run our affairs. That's where we stand.
Right.
With that said, talking about justice and peace, you can have true peace without justice being in place. Because then if you want peace and there are peace breakers, how do you curb that group of people or those recalcitrant people so that peace can continue to reign? So we Southern Cameroonians cannot go force peace in La République du Cameroon, but the international community can be the police, and they can play the lawyer, they can play the justice, and they can play the peacemaker and peacekeeper, and make sure that La République du Cameroon return to its boundary at independence, as was stated in the Green Tree Accord. The capacity and confidence building tools that were asked of them in that accord to build has not taken place. Barely. But here is the other thing. You ask if, for example, Mr. Cheruma is declared winner and he decides to release all these prisoners of conscience and wants to negotiate with them. What happens? Let's start it here. Let's first of all remember who is behind Mr. Cheruma. France. We have to know who is there. What was France's position with regarding to negotiation between Southern Cameroons and La République going into the root causes? If you go there, you really don't have a case. You can stall, you can pretend, you can say you are there in the last minute, play a game and see if you can peel off some of these people that are or claim to be or have following within Southern Cameroon and take them to Canada and do what you want to. Forget the principle. Don't care about the principle. And then you can do something and then we'll come out with something. And guess what? We're seeing some of this roll out. Even though La République said they were never at Canada, they sent nobody there. Another lies again. But you can see things happening. Canada said, oh yes, we know these things take time. It will work its way out. But what are we saying? Some of the language of what probably transpired in Canada is what is playing. Oh, when Issa wins, well, let's just take federalism and we can move. Oh, we've been there. We've been down the path of federalism and it didn't work. France is looking for another quick way they can continue to exploit and continue to have control of our territory and our land. So, putting that in perspective, even if he is released and La République du Cameroon under a Cheruma regime decides that they want to dialogue or go into negotiation with Julius, and Julius as Ayokabe as the main person, then there will come a time where when everything is said and done, they are either going to pour out more and use the French military to decimate our land so that they can keep what they think they have agreed on, or Julius will be unable to call off peace and tell the people, lay down your arms, surrender and come. But let's backtrack. Majority of the people that want the easy way out, the path of least resistance, which is what Issa Churuma is offering. Path of least resistance. For who? For La République du Cameroon, for France, but costing Amazonians their land, their resources, and their sovereignty. And for those who have not been engaged, who don't understand their rights and don't understand their heritage and don't understand what they are standing to lose, even if they have hectares, acres, mansions in La République du Cameroon, for the sake of them, we cannot forgo the lives and the posterity that will be coming years and decades and centuries down the line, to just hand something over to somebody because somebody was so selfish, so self-centered and narcissistic that they only thought about themselves and what they can get for themselves. It is not going to be that way. So, even if you had to negotiate, yes, release them. They will be part of them, but they will not be the main voice. The people of Amazonia are the main people. You may want to go around, beat around the bush. We have the ASA on the ground. They were there to talk. And you want to talk, there is a government, there is a people that are looking forward. You say, oh yeah, there's so many IG care, there is IG this, there's a good. interim government here, interim government, yeah, we have them all of that you may call, and thanks to La Republic fragmenting, playing on the intelligence of multiple Amazonians and sowing seed of discord, thinking he's fragmenting them. Let me tell you, the spirit of the freedom of the people of Amazonia and their statehood is a spirit that cannot be killed. Do you know when all this started? Most of us don't realize it. It started even before they had the plebiscite. It started, and even the revolt of what La République de Cameroon is doing today started right after independence, when people were supposed to leave from Donga Mantum and march all the way down, and La République sent its gendarmes and the block people, and the people never made it to Boya. So whether they do what or do what or do what, the spirit of the Amazonian people. Yes, you thought you would drag this for long. People will be tired, worn out, wear down, and they'll say, "Oh, let's just take it." If you look at the people who just want to take it, let me tell you the group of people who want to take it. I say, "Oh, let's just go with Isa, and then we can fix it later." There are diasporan people who are sitting comfortably in diaspora and not very engaged. They are the elites who are very comfortable in La République and have a lot of investment in there, including the funds that are pseudo administrative officers with deals coming to dangle them some little paycheck and say, "Hey, here's your pay for the month. You have to do what as we say." Those are the people. The common people on the ground do not want you, La République. And so you can play with all these people, and they can. A good example, Mr. Ponji Atanga. Is he not an extract of Southern Cameroon? What's he doing?
Yeah.
Playing the drum for La République so that they can be dancing to their music. And of course, he is the target that even the La République people will target him the most. Than even we target him. We told him we don't want but we let him come in. But we don't believe him. He came and did what? But let me tell you, the people of La République will not forgive him, and they will do more. It doesn't matter whether he's married to one of their daughters and speaks fluent French, has all the office and power. Of course, along with that, with all their embezzlement and fraudulent elections that they did in Bamenda and stuff boxes and paid people off, their CPDM cronies, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. The people on the ground don't want federation with La République. Cardinal Toomey did that studies. Published it, and the people say, absolutely no more federation. We want our independence.
Yes, talking about Cardinal Toomey and also the Center of Negotiation and Diagnosis, CND or CDN. Remember CDN? Yes, Center of Dialogue and Negotiation. They also did their own. They also did their own survey, and it was clearly proven that Southern Cameroonians and Amazonians want their autonomy. They want to rule their land. They want to have their own boundaries respected and all the like. This topic about the truth shall set you free. In fact, when you just said that the people on the ground just want total control of their territory. And that's why this phrase that you speak truth to power, speaking truth to power, the weakest of our people, they're speaking truth to the strongest. And this is shown every week with our weekly ghost town, our country Sundays, because they're respecting it, because they believe that in the end, what happened in 1961, where we thought we were independent, should be revisited, and we have our real independence, not something that we are attached to somebody that thinks we are second-class citizens. And you said we cannot revisit that. The first federation failed. We don't want that. We want to experience real independence. And in history, we don't have any of those colonies that were told to gain independence by joining any other country. So what is so unique about us having Kamunja, we have to experience that. We've already gone through, it failed, so it's time for us to get our own right of sovereignty. We're going to be ending the program. There was that other video that came up. We just have to just mention it briefly. It was not really something that we wanted to talk much about. But I think the fact here is that we have mothers, mainly mothers, who have lost so many of their children and husbands. You know, they have had their people displayed. After the Kumba massacre, they were being attacked. So let's listen to it.
To reinforce the security of the population. But my sisters, my daughters, my mothers, I want us to take our destiny in our hands. We have played a lot. We have covered the killers a lot. When I asked you before the speeches, who are the killers? You say you don't know. Thank God. The Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly remind you certain facts, and after her intervention, you cannot say that you don't know the killers. So repeat after me. Who are the killers? You don't know? Yes. Even after what Honorable Ifaka said, you don't know who are the killers? The killers are your brothers. The killers are your children. The killers are people who are living amongst you. You don't denounce them. You don't denounce them. Then you will continue to cover them.
Oh my gosh. Well, the truth really is the killers are bees. They are La Republic military killing our people. How many people have been killed? More than 60,000. So you expect these mothers to come and support you, the government, that you're killing their people? You know, Mawini, go ahead.
Or you expect the mothers to come and lie that their children are killing their children when you are playing the game. You go and you pretend in civilian wear and get them to go into schools and pull kids out. Remember they did that too in Bamenda. It was some PSS.
Yes.
Well, not Mancon. It was PSS, I think Nkwen. Some school in Nkwen there. A dormitory, yes. And then I think Bafu too. It were like 2 cases. And then they went to Kumba and did that to that school as well. So you really think that our own wants to kill their own? Abba. You pretend. Remember, there was even a time when the Amba boys, let me call them Amba boys because there are two tracks of what Amba boys. There's Ponji Atanga boys, which most of the military fall there, and some of the people that Ponji Atanga brought in and bribed them to do some things, and who were foolish and didn't know that they were being used as pawn. And then you have the true freedom fighters that were there. And then it got to a point where even the BIRs were afraid of wearing uniform because they knew they were just announcing that we are target, you can get us. So they stripped off their uniform and started going in civilian wear and still carrying out their atrocities so that it looks like it is Amba boys. If you call them the Ponji Atanga boys, yes, I would say yes. I don't even want to call them Amba boys. I just call them Ponji Atanga boys. So when they went to the school, got those kids out, did all what they did, and it became ho. La Republique thought that it was going to be something that would blow up in our faces, and they'll say, "You see, those terrorists. Let us just kill them all." No, we are not terrorists. We are people who understand our rights, and we are standing for our rights, and we are demanding our rights and demanding that the oppressor leave our territory. However, You don't expect the mothers. Thank God some of us have been placed in the diaspora so we can speak for them on behalf of them. We are their voices because they cannot all you could see they did what they did. That is the good and the best they can do at this time without being thrown in jail. Can you see how they tried to use a CPDM late I think Lifaka. I think she's of late. Did she pass
I don't know.
the parliamentarian? Okay, they tried to. I don't know what she said before, but they used her and said even after what she said, they thought that by bringing her as a woman, she will appeal, and so that it continued to perpetrate and project the lies of La République du Cameroon and let the woman or the women or the sisters or the mothers or the grandmothers, as he claims, say that our children killed our children. Oh no, our children never did. Your thugs, called military of La République du Cameroon, came into our land, massacred kids, went into schools, went into hospitals, pulling people who are even wounded. When you have a wound, and sadly, you know what? The sad thing is because our land is so infiltrated, even the healthcare providers are not properly trained, especially because you have majority of the La République citizens working in our healthcare institutions. So when there is somebody there, whether it's a gun wound or what, they don't even care how the gun wound got there or who gunned who or how hard. They will call La République, they will come to the hospital and evict and eject and take people on sick beds. And say, oh, this is the people that are killing, and then they go and lock them or even kill them, and we never see. There are thousands of missing Amazonians that we don't even know where they are. There's a lot that La République will answer for. Someday, one day, Hitler's hitmen, the Gestapo people, some of them, even in their 80s, were still being prosecuted. After they hit for long, went in some quiet, small community, thinking that they were hiding. But eventually things catch up with them. Even if it doesn't, their conscience, they never live free because the freedom that they would have known is not there. So we need freedom, and truth has to be part of this process. We need peace, and justice has to be part of this process.
That sounds like a good closing remarks, but let me give you another opportunity to just finalize. We've ended the program today. I want to thank you, Mawini, for being on the Voice of the Amba Woman, the Horizon. And just before you leave and make your closing remarks, we just want to remind people that regardless of what is happening with their elections, the advice is for them not to participate in any potential uproars, any if they have protests, anything like that. Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, stay at home. Just be true to yourself. Don't engage. Don't. In fact, if you're living in La République du Cameroon, if you're able to buy enough food, stuff, and water to keep yourself safe at home, then that's what you do, because the days ahead will be pregnant with all sorts of things, maybe danger to your person. So the only thing you can do is avoid being in those crowded areas. If you have the means of going back to your homeland, Southern Cameroons, please do so. But I'll have Mawini give her closing remarks as we end the program today. Mawini, please, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We mentioned the breast cancer awareness. So women, sisters, do your job. Self-breast exam and report anything that you find difficult with your healthcare provider, or go get examined. For those of our people living in the land of La République du Cameroon, my patients already advise you, stock up on water, food, and medicines. You don't know what may happen. And if you can go back home, go back home. In as much as it's ghost town on Mondays, the people know how to take care of themselves because they've been used to sometimes having ghost towns and lockdowns for several weeks. So go back home if you can and avoid participating in demonstrations. Unless you want to naturalize and be a La Republique citizen, then you can join them and be with them, and you can denounce your citizenship if you want to of Southern Cameroons. It's okay if you choose to. It's a choice. If you want to be a dual citizen, well, I don't know. We may have to put an exception for dual citizenship. I don't know how we'll do that, but laws will be passed. The exception. So go back home. Go back home. And don't let selfishness, self-centeredness, because you've invested too much in the Republic, hold you back as a state. Let me tell you,
Right.
even the most favored slave in a house of slavery remains a slave. You will never achieve the position of a son and
Yeah.
have inheritance. You will
Right.
remain a slave, no matter how much favor you get. So take my advice. Better be home and a nobody in your land and free than to be a chief slave in your oppressor's house and that you can be kicked, thrown out at any time. So
Amen to
think
that.
about that and remember, Southern Cameroon, we were the first free democracy under the Queen's government in Africa, or let me say in sub-Saharan Africa, that we changed powers. We voted, and Parliament had, or the House of Assembly, the party with the majority appointed the Prime Minister, and that is still in us. We've not lost it. That's true democracy, and we want to keep that. We want to enjoy that. And we want to stay where in a land where when you're taken to court, you are not presumed guilty, but you're presumed innocent until the accused can prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are guilty. We want to be in a land where we go to school, our children can enjoy and they know that the education they get is sound. It is not corrupted, it's not twisted. Marks and papers are not sold for degrees are not bought, and they are not just studied things to cram, but they have critical thinking. They can analyze material, they can use it, and they can become empowered to do what they can do and be creative, even with their imagination, to help us build our nation. And that is what we look forward to. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mawini. As always, I always am so proud of you, and I'm really excited whenever you come on the program. I really, really appreciate you. Fellow viewers, fellow listeners, we've come to the end of the program. We want to emphasize this statement that you should leave here thinking about the phrase, the truth about freedom is that freedom requires the truth. I will say it again. The truth about freedom is that freedom requires the truth. And this is something that I picked up from a lecture that I listened to the other day. And remember that this issue of freedom is not just a problem with us, Southern Cameroonians and Amazonians. It's a problem of mankind, people all over the world. So what are the truths that we know so far? We know the truth that Southern Cameroons, as Mawini said, we were one of the people that experienced the first democracy in the late 50s, early 60s in sub-Saharan Africa. We know that the independence that was given to us was a Bush independence. We were never given that privilege to really govern ourselves as a people, not combined to as second-class citizens to another nation. We also know that we had a government at one time, and our government has been restored. That on October 1st of 2017, we restored our statehood, and we had an interim government at that time led by the then Siseko Ayutabe. Those are all truths and facts. We also know that he was impeached later on after he was arrested and locked up in Kundingi. And we know that President Sako, who is now the president of Southern Cameroon's government in exile, has been keeping the ship afloat, has been flying the plane for so many years. We know that really, if you think about it, if nobody took over that responsibility after the Naira 10 were adopted, it would have been a different ball game. We would not be here today. And because of all those truths and facts that this government has supported the Naira 10 when they were in prison, and they are working hard to make sure that the ASA work within the norms of war to defend our homeland and not commit any atrocities, that we should stay put and not be mingled in whatever is happening in La République du Cameroon, knowing that the day is coming that we will have total control of our land. We also know the truth that there are people out there that were part of us, I don't really want to call names, but maybe it's relevant to call names at this time. There were people like the Mariantas, the Chris Ano, that left ship. Even in the beginning, when this thing started, people like Milan Atam was one of us. So many of them have left, and this government is standing. So always remember the truth that don't be lied to or given false information by all these people that have left the ship. Stay focused. So important. The truth about freedom is that freedom requires the truth. If you stay with that in your mind and stick to the truth, so that all these other people that are there do not deceive you, do not deter you from the right path, then we shall all end up in Buea sooner than later. And even those who are deterring us, even those who are troublemakers, those who are spoilers, will join us eventually because they'll realize that they were on the wrong track. And if they really want Ambazonia, if they really believe in Ambazonia, they will come back and join us in Buea. So with that said, I wish you all a happy weekend. And again, stay safe. Keep the faith. Bye for now. Thank you so much.